I said, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready, and we're already underway, Piggy, because it's the episode that everyone's been waiting for. Well, we've been waiting for. It's the Royal Rumble 2008. Welcome to another episode of the Pigs and Fergs Wrestling Podcast. Piggy, why are we doing the Royal Rumble 2008?
Well, we're doing the Royal Rumble 2008 because we did Impact of 2008. We did the go-home show for Final Resolution, I want to say. We did the pay-per-view, and then we did the show afterward. So we're going to see what happened on the other side of the fence. What happened? Not what happened to Ash, but what happened on the Royal Rumble 2008. My pick to win it was Tommy Dreamer. He did not win it, sadly.
Fans really like Tommy Dreamer on this night, though, but we'll get into all of that. But before we do get into the Royal Rumble itself, we've got to talk about the nostalgia seg, and we talk about what was going on in the world of wrestling. First of all, figures. What wrestling figures were out during this time?
Well, I can't, because of the archives page, I can't get more info on the figures, I don't think.
Although, I did see a couple of tidbits on there that were like a couple of DVDs on... What site was it?
For people who want to know what site I'm using, because Ringside doesn't work at the moment, Ringside is not available. Like, the time period we're in, Ringside is not archived. We're on Wrestling Superstore. Yes, it's the company that made the Jesus figure, and it's the company that makes all the Jax figures now. Well, not the Jax, but the bootleg Jax figures.
You know, your Ring of Honor ones, yeah. Like the Figures Toy Company, those ones.
Yeah, it's basically Figures Toy Company. I don't know how they're using Jax figures without getting sued.
Well, let's not get them into any trouble. You know, I'm very fond of my PCO figure, thank you very much, and I would like them to do more. But this site has quite a few little products for sale, including some DVDs such as The Rise and Fall of World Class Championship Wrestling. Very interesting documentary, would recommend you watching it. I think it's on the network at the moment. You've also got a couple of belt buckles on there, some championship belt buckles, which is pretty neat. And obviously you've got the Jax and the Adrenaline series. I think it's like Jax series 16, something to do with that. I mean, again, like you said, we can't really look at the pictures here, but we did talk about the figures that are out around this time in the last TNA video that we did. And we also talked about, briefly, I believe, the video game. So is there anything you can add about the video game, maybe related to the Royal Rumble?
No, just the fact that the Royal Rumble taking place makes the video game look out of place, because WWE are literally in their HD era at the moment.
Yeah, literally 1 week or about a month or two after they released the game, they changed the sets completely, so this game is completely out of date by the time it comes out. It's SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 even. This era would be more encapsulated when SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 came out, because that features all the HD sets, and that's probably arguably a better game than SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. But yeah, the only problem is... What are you saying?
Any game is better than SCR 2008.
Well, no other wrestling game has Monty Brown, so...
That's true.
So, you know, you got to give it some points for that. But that's the video game. In terms of results, what was going on the competition? What was going on in the week leading up to this Royal Rumble?
Well, we'll do Raw. We'll do it in chronological order.
Does that mean we're going to get to hear what happened on Heat?
Well, I can find Heat results if you want me to.
No. I'm sure it was probably like Super Crazy versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan or the Highlanders or something like that. So don't worry about that. Just do Raw, ECW, and SmackDown, and maybe Impact.
Well, on this Raw, Shawn Michaels, he thinks he's cute. Does he know he's sexy? Because he is bald. And he is, in this era, he is balding. So does he know he's sexy? Does he know he's a sexy boy?
Well, in HD, now, we should mention, this is the first week of HD television, so it's the first Raw, ECW and SmackDown with a brand new set, of course, using the complete package for all three brands now, instead of having their own unique looks. What did you think about the set design?
I don't mind the set design. I understand it's harder to do sets like now, because it costs so much with all the lights and everything, you know, with all the cameras, and plus they said stage don't look nice in HD, the stages that they did, which I think is wrong. I wish SmackDown had its own stage, Because I do prefer like SmackDown having its own stage and Raw having its own stage.
And I think that this one, it had its advantages. Like, I did like the big cylinder that it had on the side of the stage. And as a kid, when this stage came out, like the week after, I made one for my wrestling toys. So it definitely holds a place in my heart, but obviously doesn't hold a candle to the Fist or the Raw kind of gridiron stuff. And yeah, ECW then just became another brand. Like, I mean, it already was, but that was kind of the final, not nail in the coffin, but really the final point where this isn't ECW anymore. But yeah, Shawn Michaels is balding, and who did he beat? I believe, and this is off the top of my head, I'm guessing, did he face Mr. Kennedy?
Kennedy!
I was waiting for it. There you go. Continue to run through the results. Let's do some, because there's 3 shows to get through. Let's quick fire this.
Beth Phoenix defeated Mickie James in 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Finlay and Hornswoggle defeated the Highlanders Robbie and Rory McAllister in 1 minute and 25 seconds. Umanga defeated Brian Kendrick in a Royal Rumble qualifying match in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Carlito with "There She Goes Again," "I'll Go Medicine," "Our Legs Go On." With Santino Marella and Maria defeated Hardcore Holly with Cody Rhodes in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Triple H defeated Mark Henry, Snitsky and William Regal in a Royal Rumble qualifying 3-man over the top rope continent match. Triple H eliminated Snitsky with a clothesline 1 minute and 16 seconds. Triple H eliminated Mark Henry by pulling down the top rope during a charge in 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Triple H eliminated William Regal by tossing him over the top rope 50 seconds. Your commentators were Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross. Your ring announcer was Lillian Garcia.
I'm being generous, it probably did sound like a bad rule, but we're coming off of watching Nitro a couple of weeks ago, so anything's good to us, isn't it?
Yeah, anything's better than Nitro. Next up, we have ECW. No, alright. It's dying on a sad hill, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so we have Shelton Benjamin defeated John Morrison, Kane, The Miz, and Tommy Dreamer in an over the top battle royal 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Kane eliminated Tommy Dreamer, Kane eliminated The Miz, John Morrison, Kane eliminated, Shelton Benjamin, Kane eliminated. That's what the results say. I don't know what it means. Kofi Kingston defeated David Owen.
Kofi Kingston's debut?
Is it?
Yes. First match in WWE. Well, on TV anyway.
David Owen. Who is David Owen?
You don't remember the legendary David Owen? He's like the peak creator wrestler. If you've seen him with the tribal tats across his arms, he's quite a, I don't want to say stumpy fellow, but you can kind of imagine. He's got kind of a pack build. Right.
The Great Khali with Rajan Singh defeated Colin Delaney. Woo!
ECW.
Chavo Guerrero with the Edge, not the Edgeheads, defeated CM Punk, the champion, to win the ECW World Championship in 6 minutes. This is the first episode to air in HD. Debut of the new stage featured backstage segment with World Heavyweight Champion Edge, Vicky Guerrero, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. regarding Chavo's ECW World Title shot. It included a video package highlighting the history of the Royal Rumble and various statistics regarding the match's history. The commentators were Joey Styles, Taz, and your ring announcer was Tony Chimel.
Great episode of ECW with legendary performers such as David Owen, Colin Delaney, and the like. And of course, CM Punk's reign finally being brought to an end by Chavo Guerrero, which is what everyone wanted for the ECW brand at the time.
Alright, so are you ready for TNA?
Yeah, go on.
This took place on the 24th of January 2008. James Storm and Robert Roode with Jackie Moore and Peyton Banks defeated Eric Young and Sanjay Dutt in 4 minutes. Shark Boy defeated Elix Skipper. TNA Street Fight X Division Street Fight. Johnny Devine defeated Jay Lethal Champion. Curry Man and Tiger Mask defeated the Rock and Rave Infection. TNA World Tag Team Champion 3-way match. AJ Styles and Tomko with Karen Angle defeated the Motor City Machine Guns and Team 3D. And your commentators were Don West, Mike Tenay, and your ring announcer was Jeremy Borash.
That sounds. The main event sounds interesting. At least that sounds like a pay-per-view main event. That one with the tag titles on the line. So, yeah. And finally,
SmackDown.
Yes.
The January 25th, 2008 edition of SmackDown is a professional wrestling television show taped on WWE SmackDown brand. It was taped on the 22nd of January 2008 at the John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville. Virginia. This is the first episode of SmackDown's broadcast in high definition. So your dark match involved Paul Burchill with Katie Lee defeated Funaki. Rey Mysterio defeated Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder by DQ in a 2-on-1 handicap match in 5 minutes and 34 seconds. Jimmy Wang Yang with Shannon Moore defeated Domino with Cherry and Deuce in 5 minutes and 26 seconds. Chuck Palumbo, Jamie Noble, and Michelle McCool versus John Morrison, Layla, and The Miz ended in a no contest. Finley with Hornswoggle versus the Great Khali with Regine Singh in a Belfast brawl match ended in a no contest. The Undertaker defeated Big Daddy V with Matt Striker in 6 minutes 11 seconds, and Edge with Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder defeated CM Punk. Your dark match involved Batista, CM Punk, and Rey Mysterio defeating the Edgeheads. And your commentators were Michael Cole, Jonathan Coachman, and your ring announcer was Justin Roberts.
So, Edge versus CM Punk sounds good.
Especially modern day, if you brought them in the modern day.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's still going. Well, hopefully still going, but yeah. Anyway, those two probably... I remember that match, actually. I think it was decent. I used to love having the ECW guys on SmackDown because I never used to watch ECW, and when I was 9, obviously, I was mesmerised by ECW, even though it was a shell of its former self. But stupid kid me didn't know that, so I was still happy to see CM Punk on SmackDown facing Edge. And I'm happy to see a lot of the wrestlers here tonight. It looks like a decent card on paper, but as we will find out, it's not that great. This is the Royal Rumble 2008. We've got 6 commentators on in the Royal Rumble match itself, and that's quite a lot. And first of all, it's from Madison Square Garden, this show, and the main thing that I want to bring up early on is the stage. This is one of my favourite Rumble stages ever. What about you?
I think this is my favourite Rumble stage, with the second one being the Rumble 2000 and thirdly being the Rumble 03. There's 3 unique stages. You don't get a unique Rumble stage anymore, which is saddening.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what they're trying to do with because it's usually in the dugout these days, isn't it? With the the baseball stadiums. But now these ones are few and far between. Even when they go to Madison Square Garden, they don't really make use of that hard cam tunnelway, which is a shame because I really liked when they used to do those special pay-per-views. And I think this is the best Madison Square Garden stage that they've done, aside from the Rumble 2000, like you said. But I like the LEDs and the way that the Rumble stage kind of opens up and you've got the LED lights coming in. It looks cool and it looks decent in HD. I know obviously we get HD wrestling all the time, but it felt cool to have it from like 15 years ago being quite a crisp, colour. But speaking of crisp colour, we're going to get that later on in Jericho JBL. But first of all, our opening contest, it's a career-threatening match. Ric Flair takes on MVP, of course. Ric Flair, he will retire if he loses. This is the storyline which will culminate at WrestleMania when he retires to Shawn Michaels. But in the meantime, he is going one-on-one with a bunch of different guys. And if he loses, then he's out. But he gives a nice little speech to Madison Square Garden, said he wrestled in his first match in the Garden in 1976, which, geez, that's a very long time ago, and he's still here. And even to this day, he's still here. He says he's had his last match, but yeah, this one was, it was fine, but it was mostly chops to start with. And even though it was kind of a bland match, the crowd was really, really into it. Are there any highlights from this match for you?
I just wish he took the overdrive.
Oh yeah, what, the leg over?
Yeah, the worst move in wrestling history.
I mean, he wasn't going to sell it that well, was he? I mean, it would have been interesting just to see him try and sell it. But there are a lot of fans of Flair in the building tonight. It's a cool little opening attraction, and I do think that it works well on this stage. Like Ric Flair's potential last match at Madison Square Garden, it's quite nice. But you've got the MVP as the US champion beating up Flair throughout this. There is at one point a point where it looks as though MVP's got it won because he hits you can call it the haluva kick, but it's a kick in the corner, and then pins him, but Ric Flair gets his foot on the rope. False finish though, the match continues, and we see more chops, more strikes, and MVP, after hitting a butterfly suplex, puts Flair on the top and hits a big superplex, and Flair sells, but he still kicks out at 2, and then MVP kind of weekly paintbrushing Flair and small package, but kicks out, and it kind of falls apart towards the end, but it's not terrible for what it is. I mean, you got to remember Ric Flair at this point, like it's not going to be the best match on the card, is it? But yeah, he gets a figure 4 and MVP taps out. But aside from the kind of mediocre action, didn't go too long, and Ric Flair was beloved by the audience, and they kind of made it. So it was fine for what it was. What do you think?
Well, the Ric Flair match.
Yeah.
I dropped my microphone.
I thought that was going to be it. You were just going to be like shit and then move on.
Well, it was shit. It's a Ric Flair in his 50s match. What do you expect?
I don't know, but it's better than his Ric Flair in his 70s match. So.
With a pacemaker.
Yeah, pacemaker but no playmaker. There you go.
Oh, what's our next match?
Our next match, we'll move on from that. Well, before we go to our next match, Mr. McMahon is teaching Hornswoggle about the luck of the Irish, and he says he can't trust anyone in that Royal Rumble. I was watching this with my partner, and having to explain the storyline took too much effort, and by the time I finished explaining why Hornswoggle was Mr. McMahon's son, she'd already left the room, so I guess I was just left talking to myself in a ramble. But we also got Mike Adamle as well, and he kind of stumbles his way through the lines, but he'll have his famous moment.
Jeff Harvey.
Oh yeah. We gotta wait until later. You know what? But we'll bring it up right now. The Jeff Harvey thing. Mike Adamle. Any fond memories of him in the Fed?
No, there is no real fond memories of him. Mike. What's his name? Mike
Adamle.
Mike Adamle. I butchered his name. There's no fond memories with Mike Adamle because I don't remember. I was too young, of course. And I haven't really gone back because all I think of Mike Adamle is just them not making fun of him, but just using him as a plot point, basically, to go, laugh at that man, it's the funny wrestling name. And you're like, yeah, alright, Vince.
I used to really like American Gladiators back in the day, and he did that, and he was fine, so it's a different wrestling thing. I can imagine he's probably got Vince yelling in his ear as well, so, hopefully history will be behind it. Say his name.
Say the name.
Say it.
Say his name.
So Mike Adamle.
I don't know why I'm doing Batman and you're doing Vince.
Oh yeah. Say his name. Chris Jericho versus JBL up next. The video package is really brutal because JBL is just choking Chris Jericho with a cable around the arena. Very, very brutal. And it feels quite, I don't know, for a feud which it didn't make sense to me at the time, and it didn't really make sense to me now watching it back. Like, why? And also, JBL kind of bringing Jericho's kid into it. I had no idea Jericho even had kids. They'd never brought it up, has he?
He has never brought it up.
No, so it was a weird seeing it involved in this storyline. Like, again, it just weird because I was like, does Jericho even have kids? And because he never talks about his family, is fair enough. But it was weird how they brought it up in this storyline when they never brought it up before, So it's very interesting. So, this is JBL's first proper feud since coming back from his retirement, and then this would be his last year as a full-time wrestler. So it's Jericho versus JBL. Jericho obviously recently returning to the company to feud with Randy Orton, and then moves on to this feud with JBL. And the crowd is dead for the first part of this match. Nobody cares about it. What they do get into it later on though, as JBL. Most of this is really JBL just clubbing Jericho and knocking his shit off basically with clotheslines and clubbing blows. And JBL, he's got a bit of a tummy on him, but I suppose he always did. But maybe it's just working off that ring rust from JBL. There's a lot of fighting on the floor, thrown into the stairs. Jericho eventually does try and get back into it, but JR keeps calling JBL the Millionaire Mauler, and I've never heard him say that before or since. Very strange, but yeah, some more stiff shots. It's basically 10 or so minutes of JBL beating the piss out of Jericho, and then it really culminates when Jericho gets thrown into the ring post by JBL, and then suddenly he's spouting blood. Do you want to kind of go over what happened towards the end of this?
I believe doesn't Jericho, he gets he blades pretty deep, like surprisingly blades pretty deep, and then he basically doesn't he get the same cable that JBL choked him off with, and then he chokes JBL with it, and it ends in a DQ. He also gets hit with a chair.
Yeah, he strikes him full force on the head. It's weird as well, the contrast of the chair shots to the head and the gushing blood in the HD environment, because they would soon go PG at least like 6 months after this. So it's weird to see that. They edit out the famous botch, do you remember?
What was the famous botch?
Where there was 2 on this show. I'll get to the other one in the Rumble later on, but the first one in this match was he went for a bulldog and JBL just fell to the canvas, but Jericho didn't fall to the canvas. You might have noticed a little bit of a glitch in the WWE network where they cut it out and the fans are just booing it over the top, but it's they managed to kind of edit it out, but it's one of the famous botchamania, one from the early botchamanias at least. And from that point, I think they lost the crowd again. And the crowd's booing, but, a DQ finish for this one, it was fine, but could you really not have Jericho beat JBL? I don't know. But brutal. And also, I'll tell you something else. In this blood feud where JBL's brought up Jericho's family, why did they start the match with just a lockup? Makes no sense. So, yeah, the throat thing was gross. It had good intensity, but I don't think this was the feud to have that intensity in. What did you think of the match and the story overall?
The story was great. I will give them props for this story. The match, it wasn't a match. It was more of a squash match.
Yeah.
That's really about it. It's very weird seeing the blood in this era.
Especially in that high def colour where he's and it's not just like a regular blade job, he's spouting. And I don't know why, I don't know if this was the feud to have that in, like this sort of intensity could have been saved for something else, because they didn't really revisit this feud after the Rumble. Like they continued a little bit into No Way Out, but apart from that, this kind of got dropped. So very, very strange. So yeah, the fans kind of, they kind of cheer a little bit, but it's not that much really. Ashley's talking to Maria in the back, but Santino is saying he's not interested. Maria's not interested in the quote booby magazine. So we'll have to see if Maria gets into that booby magazine, even if Santino wants it or not. We'll see. Next match already, we've got the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Rey Mysterio challenging Edge. And all I could think about during this match was how much the crowd hated Rey Mysterio. What was up with that?
I assume because Edge was more popular was the case.
I guess. But was Rey Mysterio that unpopular that he was being booed?
I actually don't know.
I think people might have been getting sick of Mysterio at this point, in terms of like a John Cena type character where he's kind of been there forever and he's the kind of white meat babyface, I think there's only a couple of babyfaces that are truly over on the show, and it's Jeff Hardy and, well, not apart from the Royal Rumble, you got Jeff Hardy and Chris Jericho, but in the undercard, like, actually, to be fair, just forget what I said. Flair was over. But Rey Mysterio, yeah, just absolutely not buried, but the crowd is not into him at all. But this match is decent for what it is. I personally enjoyed it more than I anticipated going in. What were your highlights of this match, or what were your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it is I'm sad Ray doesn't have his iconic theme. Who's that jumping out the sky? REY Stereo. It was a good match. I don't know what people expected. I personally wanted to see Rey Mysterio with the horns again.
You got a little bit of it though, with the mask and the helmet at the start.
Yeah, but you should have went full on with it.
Planted into his skull.
Yeah, like he did in WCW.
Yeah, well, we won't get in WCW right here, but we'll get more. I sure tell you the details of this really. So Edge seems to be kind of outmaneuvering Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio does botch a couple of things at the early point, and that doesn't help his case because "Let's Go Edge" is the main chant of this crowd. They're really into Edge, and I think it makes the match a little bit more interesting, even if Mysterio is not too popular here in New York. Rey Mysterio, he does a couple of interesting maneuvers, including a belly slide to the outside to hit a DDT. Then I think he goes to the top rope a couple of times and eats shit, which not fun for Rey. Edge, though, kind of wearing down Mysterio, and I'll tell you what, Coach on commentary is not too good here. He's trying to be a heel, but not really. Like, what do you think about Coach on commentary? Because it took me out of this a little bit.
I wasn't listening to Coach on commentary. I was listening to music.
Oh, that for the best then, because Coach was not. Yeah, so you were watching Mysterio getting beaten too. What was the track of choice?
Oh, Blink-182.
Oh, that's a good soundtrack. Edge hitting a half crab, and then more sunset flips. Rey Mysterio rolls through and kicks Edge, but the story of this is his knee. Ow, my knee. He's holding his knee.
I've had surgery. My surgically repaired knee that I had 5 times.
5 times.
You're supposed to be my friend.
In my left knee. He's not his friend though. Rey Mysterio hits. Oh, he hits a coup de grace. That was alright. And then Hurricane Rana to Edge to the floor. That's when we see the DDT to the outside. And back in, Edge sets up for the spear, but Mysterio ducks and Edge eats the turnbuckle. And then we get the 619, hits the splash, but Vicky Guerrero, forgot to mention Vicky Guerrero at ringside in this one. She doesn't really play too much of a role until she recovers, because she's in a wheelchair here because she was tombstoned by The Undertaker. And then she gets up out of the wheelchair and pulls the referee away. And then Edge tries another spear, but again misses it. And then Vicky Guerrero, you can just explain it, because poor Vicky, what happens?
Doesn't she grab, doesn't she try to get the... I'm trying to remember what happened here. Isn't she trying to grab Rey, and then Rey accidentally pushes the Edge into her?
Oh, it's what happens is, basically Vicky Guerrero, she pulls the referee out of the ring, and then Edge is about to get hit with another 619, but Vicky sacrifices herself and gets a 619 to the back of the skull because she's covering up Edge. And Mysterio's like, oh, what's going on? Then, boom, springboard into a spear. Great finish. 1, 2, 3 retains at about 15 minutes-ish. This match was good. I liked it. It wasn't terrible, but I think maybe, you know, could have had a little bit of tweaking, especially like the early parts of it where Mysterio was kind of botching some stuff. And the crowd booing Rey Mysterio didn't really help his case, so I understand. But yeah, the main event, or at least the finish, was very interesting, entertaining, and I did like the story being told throughout this matchup. But, you know, it wasn't one that you're going to go out your way to see. What about you? What do you think of this match?
It's not one you can go out your way to see. You don't have to see that match. I recommend the next match, which is Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. But this match, it was a good match. It's like the two have great chemistry. It's not one of their finest matches, but it's an okay match. Like, I wouldn't say it's up there with Ospreay versus Kenny Omega at this year's Wrestle Kingdom, but it's a good match.
They've had better matches though. I think that's fair to say. But this is we'll see what happens next month at No Way Out, which I guess we're gonna talk about, are we?
I guess we'll announce it here. If you guys really like our dulcet tones of reviewing 08 wrestling, we are going to continue. It will be B-sides. So like the other way Oasis had A-sides and B-sides, this will be our B-sides. So on our B-sides, we will review wrestling. We won't have a nostalgia segment. We will just go straight to the show, bing bang bosh, and that's Bob's your uncle, Mary's your sister, and that's it, basically. We'll basically be once a month or twice a month, depending on our time schedule and depending on our mood to film.
Yeah.
But we will be trying to at least bring you 2 pay-per-views a month, a long bonus episode a month with some side muffins. Basically, think of it as a 3-course meal, or a 2-course meal, or a 3-in-1. Where we're giving you the chicken. We also will be giving you rice, and we might be giving you chips.
You like your analogies, don't you?
I do.
Yep, because Ric Flair is showering up, and he's naked. He's just got a towel around him. I was going to try and trying to look at what was happening, but all I could focus on was that. Kennedy shows up and he's like, "Ooh, I'm going to beat you," and then HBK shows up and then says, "No, you're not." And then we get Triple H out and Batista, and kind of telegraphing if the one winner doesn't win the Royal Rumble, who will. No spoilers yet, but it's going to be one of these three pretty much: Batista, Triple H, or Shawn Michaels. So they're shilling for the shirt. But yeah, it was all right. I thought it was funny. And then we get another really, really funny segment. What are your highlights of Santino, Ashley, and Maria? What are your highlights of this next segment for the crowd?
I just love Maria's theme.
Here she comes again.
Again, my good medicine. Her legs go on and on and on.
Do you want to see those legs in Playboy?
Mike Kanellis might kill me, so no.
Good shout. Well, Santino will too, because he's got someone in a black sheet, and I immediately went back to the SummerSlam Kiss My Ass match between Billy Gunn and The Rock, where he had that plumptuous woman under there for The Rock to kiss their ass, and this reminded me of that, and I was like, are we going to get something like that too? So Santino with the cheap heat. Santino definitely here is not the character he would become. He's still refining it. And Ashley asks Maria if she wants to do Playboy. And then Maria asks it to the audience. But then Santino cuts them off. And now, who is under the sheet?
Johnny Knoxville.
Big Dick Johnny Knoxville.
Well, we've seen Jackass, but you say it's big.
Well, not as big as Big Dick.
It's Big Dick Johnson.
The Big Dick Johnson, and then he gets battered with a chicken from Ashley, and then this was far more respectable than I thought a Playboy themed segment was going to be. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was surprisingly tame.
Yeah,
I'm just excited to talk about the Rumble at this moment.
Yeah, but first of all, did you see the WrestleMania ad?
I forget the WrestleMania ad. Can you explain it again?
Right. So Kelly is basically Pamela Anderson. Yeah, she's on the beach, and then this fat, ugly guy thinks, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a kiss from the cute Kelly." So he pretends to drown. Then Kelly comes and rescues him. Going to give him the kiss of life, and he's like, I'm going to get it. And out of my way, and then Mae Young pushes her aside, and then basically smothers this bloke and gives him big old wet old lady kisses. And tune into WrestleMania, folks.
Yeah, like Mae Young is going to wrestle Ric Flair in his last match.
So we've got to wait for that until WrestleMania 24. Mike Adamle, though, he cannot. He's chuckling at this. He loves it. And this is where he says the infamous line, Jeff Harvey. Of course, they cut it out of the WWE Network, even though they like to take the mick out of him for it, I guess. But yeah, so Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. Orton's the champion. Jeff Hardy's won a number one contenders match to be here. He's also the Intercontinental Champion. This is just 2 weeks after Jeff Hardy did that big dive off the Raw stage. And now Jeff feels like a main eventer. Before, he was kind of, I don't want to say spinning his wheels, but he was kind of working up to the main event spot. Obviously, beforehand, I'm not entirely sure if WWE saw him as a main eventer, but the crowd was fully behind him. Every time he came out around this time, he would get the biggest ovation of the night. I personally, as a kid, he was my favourite wrestler. He still is in many ways, and he could have been the champion at this point, but they would wait a couple months to pull the trigger on Jeff Hardy as the champion. But this matchup is a lot of quite interesting stuff. I mean, Jeff Hardy, it feels like he's upped his game for this matchup. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah,
it's probably Jeff's best showing, because Jeff's never really been a great in-ring worker. I know people will be like, he is. Maybe he's not. He's a great storyteller. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
He can tell a story when his body's in pain, but he can't really wrestle that great. He's an okay wrestler. But I think when he's mixed with Randy Orton, the two of them just click.
Yeah, like you slow it down. He can slow it down, and he does hit a lot of chin locks in this one, but I think it's made up for by a lot of Jeff Hardy's offense. Like, Randy Orton will hit a devastating move on Jeff. Jeff will kind of skin the cat or do something where he'll kind of scurry away from Randy Orton. He does try and spring in the ring, but Orton hits a beautiful drop kick. There is one point in this match where I think Hardy kicks Orton off the apron and he lands with his neck like at a 90 degree angle even, and that looks nasty. We've got a sleeper arm suplex neckbreaker type thing from Hardy, and they're on the top, a flying move and a clothesline, and then back elbow. Hardy then goes to Orton in the corner, and Orton basically gets hit with a whisper in the wind, but freaks out. Like he looks like you see what I was talking about a couple of episodes ago with Mr. Tickle. This is Orton as Mr. Tickle, where he rolls up into like a fish when he gets hit by Jeff Hardy's move. Jeff Hardy drop kicks him to the floor again, heads to the top and hits a moonsault. Looks fantastic, and Orton almost missed him completely, which sucks. And when we get back in, Hardy does the taunt. He does hit a swanton at one point, but he can't capitalize. And I think Orton does manage to escape that move. But towards the end of the match, Hardy, he's going for the twist of fate, but Orton spins around and hits the RKO to retain. And it was very out of nowhere. It caught me off guard. Like, I've seen this match before, but I don't remember the match ending so, like, suddenly. I remember it going a lot longer than it did. And I wish it did. I wish it went like 5 more minutes. But it was definitely a fun, entertaining match. And I enjoyed it. The heat was there, I think, but it was just a bit, you know, some of the moves weren't too crisp, but that wasn't what Jeff Hardy's matches were about. It was about the story being told, and I thought they did it pretty well. So, what about you? What do you think of this?
It was a good match. Probably the best match besides the Rumble. I loved the finish. The finish was great.
Yeah, that was a truly an RKO. You know, they talk about RKOs out of nowhere, but that was one where it was like, oh, this is something that can strike you at any time, even if you think you've got the match won. So, yeah. I think, again, though, could have been a little bit better, but I still think it had its moments, and it was fun for what it was. So, yeah, now we get the by the numbers video package for the Rumble, which I skipped because it's the same every year, and it never stops. We get Michael Buffer.
Actually, it's been edited this year because of an obvious incident.
Oh, yes! This is the first year where they do the 2 men of 1 from number 1, including Shawn Michaels. Ignore who the other one was. We got Michael Buffer, fresh off of WCW. Even when we watch Nitro, we can't escape it. And then we get he calls Shawn Michaels the Heartbreak Kid. He doesn't even call him Shawn Michaels, and says I hope he's getting paid well. That's all I'm saying. Actually, I don't hope he's getting paid well.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Suck it. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Undertaker draws number 1, and then takes off his hat, and then we get Shawn Michaels, number 1 and number 2. The men who ended last year's Royal Rumble are starting this one, and Michaels and Taker, they're the ones who are fighting throughout the start of this. A couple of fun moments here where every time a new entrant comes in, for instance, Santino gets rocked with a super kick and thrown out. That was quite funny. The Great Khali comes out, he gets "You Can't Wrestle" chants, and he is eliminated by The Undertaker. But every time Undertaker eliminates one of these guys, Shawn Michaels is right there behind him to try and eliminate him. Doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of last year's Royal Rumble, which is quite a nice selling point there. And this is one of my favourite lineups from any Royal Rumble overall. You know, before we get too far into the entrance, what did you think?
I think this is a great way to start off a Rumble. Is getting your 2 legends in there, because at this point they are legends. They're not, even though they are current talent, they are pretty much legends. So it was amazing to get 2 legends in there going at it. And then all the younger fans coming in, the younger wrestlers coming in. And then you know which ones are the jobbers, like Santino, Snitsky, you know.
Yeah.
And then you know who your main eventers are. Then you know who your mid-cards are. ECW, CM Punk, Chavo, Coyote. I don't know if Ted DiBiase was in this match.
No, he's yet to debut. So, yeah.
Hardcore Holly, all the main eventers.
Yeah, of course. But there are a lot of people, and there's still legends to come, don't you worry, we'll get to them in due time. So, and also 6 commentary people on this one, all 6 of them for this one. Did you notice it at all? Was it that much of a problem? Because to me, it didn't really feel that, it wasn't like they were talking over each other, which I was quite impressed by.
It was fun. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, of course, you were listening to Blink 182 while Hardcore Holly was trying to chop away. So, You got John Morrison out.
Hopefully Hardcore Holly didn't do what he did in 2005 to Nathan Pewterschmidt.
Oh, yes. Well, he does land a couple of chops. John Morrison is the victim of it this time, though, and call back to the Tough Enough days, actually. So there's... Morrison is an MVP of this one, though, I must say. I think he did a lot of cool stuff in this one, and he was allowed to do a lot in this match, and he lasted a fairly long time. Tommy Dreamer's in at 7, and he's getting big ECW and Tommy Dreamer chants, and he's fairly popular in this one. We've also got Tommy Dreamer getting thrown out by The Undertaker to boos, and then Batista, he's out at number 8. So he's getting a big pop. He's a House of Fire, hits everyone from behind. And then we get Hornswoggle. Hornswoggle's out next, and he just crawls under the ring. Fair enough, I'd do the same, mate. Batista spears The Undertaker as well, and then Holly is basically going to town on John Morrison's chest and hits a backdrop on Shawn Michaels, and Hardcore Holly making the most of his minutes. Chuck Palumbo, not with Billy Gunn this time, is next at number 10, and he's got the biker gimmick on. He's doing the Undertaker from 2001 gimmick. I remember loving this entrance in... I think I had this entrance in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 because I liked the bike, but he didn't have the bike here tonight. And then after Chuck Palumbo, we get Jamie Noble. Jamie Noble obviously fighting Chuck Palumbo here. I think they did a double turn here where Noble was the heel, but then they switched the roles, and it was over Michelle McCool, I believe, so... Yeah, again, Michelle McCool being involved and then getting with The Undertaker. It all ties together. And yeah, so this segment of the Rumble is fine, but it doesn't last for too long because next big star out, if you want to call him out this time, is CM Punk. Hits a couple knee lifts in a row and then tries a bulldog with Shawn Michaels, but it's clattered by The Undertaker. Serves him right for thinking he could push up in the main event scene. And we've got a couple of... he hits a knee on Palumbo and tosses him out. And then Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is out next, and he is looking very young here. Not quite only smoke and mirrors yet. He does hit an atomic drop on CM Punk and tries to go to the top, but nothing. And, Cody Rhodes lasts a fairly long time in this one as well. And I know Undertaker had Cody had a story about how The Undertaker allowed him to get a couple of bits of offense in this match, which was quite nice. And then Umanga's out next. Here's a bunch of clotheslines as well. I was petrified of Umaga at this time as a kid. No sells Holly's chops and then gets Samoan spiked and out. Batista tries to cut off Umaga and then gets hit with a Samoan strike or something. I don't know. But Cody Rhodes also tries to toss out HBK, but he hangs on. And then Snitsky is out and he's ugly. Ooh, he's got ugly teeth and he stinks. He's stinky boy. And he chokes out Morrison and gets jumped by behind. Almost gets eliminated by Cody Rhodes, but they manage to hold on. And more people out next. We've got The Miz. Also, Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin, man. Shelton is done dirty here. He jumps to the top rope and hits a beautiful bulldog off of it and then just gets immediately eliminated. And somewhere Spam Wrestling is crying in his cereal. It's shameful. So, we're about halfway through. What do you think about this first half of the Rumble before the legends got in?
It was a good Rumble. It's showcasing the past, the future, and the present.
Yeah, but what do you think about the likes of Shelton, who, to be fair, on ECW have been built up pretty well at this point, just getting thrown out like nothing?
I'm saddened. I don't want to say saddened. It's very weird what happened to Shelton Benjamin, because Shelton Benjamin's not really being used correctly in any promotion that I've booked him, except for maybe TNA, unless TNA didn't have him.
No, New Japan, maybe. Next up, we've got a, super fly.
Oh, the man who escaped court by dying.
He's the smartest worker in the business.
Yeah, lads, if you want to know how to kill your girlfriend, just do what Jimmy Snuka did. Just kill them, hide their body, and then wait until you're very old, and go to court, and then die. And then people go, well, he had dementia. And you're like, well, he's still a murderer.
He had dementia. He didn't have dementia back then, though.
Yeah, he didn't.
Luckily, the Maniac comes out next, by which I mean Roddy Piper, who is looking plump, and he has some exchanges with Jimmy Snuka. Not exactly a 5-star classic.
Motherfucker!
And he beats him up, but Snuka ain't selling it, and Piper keeps trying to batter him. And then Slow Chemical plays. Kane's out next, and he carefully deposits Snooker and Piper out of the ring. But I still thought it was a fun spot, aside from the murderer there. I thought it was a fun little segment. I think they should do more of this in current Rumbles.
I think so as well, but it just depends on what legends can still actively wrestle.
Back here, in this time, the legends from the 80s would have been immobile, but now I think if you brought someone back from like the early 2000s, like a John Morrison, for instance, or a
Steve
Blackman.
Yes.
Yeah, or a Steve Blackman, they could go. But yeah.
Or Raven.
Oh yeah, or Raven.
That's Wonder Kid.
No, we got to save this for our 2023 Royal Rumble. If any of them show up, I'll lose my shit, honestly. The Undertaker teases going after Kane, but then goes for HBK. And Carlito's out next. And it slows down a little bit, in my view, this last 10 minutes. But I suppose that's what all Royal Rumbles really do. Then we get Mick Foley, who is out here as well. Surprise Mick Foley. This reminds me of TNA Mick Foley as well, because it was soon after this he'd win the TNA title, and he comes out to his music, and Taker hits the last ride on Batista. Foley double on DDT's Kane. Umaga hits Samoan drop on the Undertaker. Morrison hits a springboard kick on Foley, and then we get Mr. Kennedy up next, and he gets a pretty good pop in this one as well, and hits a couple of flatliners. He mouths off to the Undertaker, but then gets choked out, and the Undertaker clatters a couple of people in the corner. And then we get Big Daddy V. Oh, it was big man titties. Loved Big Daddy V. This theme song goes hard.
Does it? I haven't listened to this theme.
This is one you need to put on your Christmas album or your cover album.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. After this, Google Big Daddy V's theme. It's a banger. I had Chuck Palumbo's entrance motion with the bike, and I had Big Daddy V's music for my creator character in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. So there you go. But then we get some... Oh, yes, it's Shawn Michaels' time to shine, because he's switching music to The Undertaker outside. And then while his back's turned, Kennedy eliminates Shawn Michaels. And this is another botch that they edit out of the show. You can see in the live broadcast, you can see on the way out, Shawn Michaels tripping and falling on his way out of the ring, which is quite funny. And then suddenly cut back to ringside where The Undertaker randomly hits a table spot where a leg drops Snitsky for a table, and yeah, that's interesting. I called it Viscera. I was about to call him Viscera. But Big Daddy V hits a black hole slam on the Miz, and that's when we get Kennedy trying to get rid of Cody Rhodes, but he's still hanging on there. And we get some more giants in with Mark Henry. Hornswoggle tries to eliminate the Miz, and he's successful. Eliminates the Miz. And then this is the death of the ECW brand, because Chavo Guerrero is the ECW champion and he's in the Royal Rumble. What did you think about that?
Of Chavo in the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, as the ECW champion.
Well, he's the ECW champion. He shouldn't be in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. What's it say about that brand to say, oh, because the year before, The Undertaker teased going after the ECW championship, and it's only been a year, and look what happened.
Imagine Taker chose Bobby Lashley to fight at WrestleMania 23.
I would have taken Lashley versus Taker, honestly. I wouldn't have minded that.
I have nothing to say to that. I'm just imagining Taker choosing Bobby Lashley over John Cena and Batista.
Just imagine Taker choosing Chavo Guerrero over John Cena
or over Randy Orton and Edge.
In my mind, I'm thinking... As a kid, my thought process would be, well, Chavo Guerrero is going to be the easiest to beat, so of course I'm going to go for the ECW Championship. But sometimes you've got to aim big, And I don't think Chavo Guerrero is aiming big by going in as the ECW champion. But anyway, he eliminates CM Punk. Yay. There's a couple more. Finlay gets involved and hits someone with Shillelagh. And this is getting very confusing because he hits someone with a Shillelagh to save Hornswoggle. Because Hornswoggle's about to get clattered by the three giants of Mark Henry, Big Daddy V, and Chavo Guerrero, who are circling him at this time. Finlay saves him, and then they just go to the back, and apparently he was DQ'd for using the Shillelagh, or why? What was that? I
have no idea. I think it was just an excuse because you can't throw Hornswoggle over the top rope.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. You can throw him to the apron and fall to the floor. Or, this is what I would have done, have Finlay come in with the Shillelagh, beat up everyone, or even just on your way out, put him over the top rope, so you're officially gone from the match. Don't just walk out. It's just silly. But yeah, I don't know. Elijah Burke's in next. Why? I don't know. It's very weird. I feel like you could have put someone else in this spot, but I'm trying to think of who else was in the company. William Regal was in the company at this point, but I guess he was Raw GM actually, wasn't he? So I suppose he wouldn't be in this one. But yeah, I don't like how. Like, I love the entire roster here. Not gonna lie, but the jobbers, they really treat like jobbers. I wish they would give them a little bit more. Just something really. But yeah, then we come to number 29, and it's the game. Triple H. Him and Mick Foley square off in the ring. They're battling it out. And the fans pop big time for it. It's awesome. Love it. And then Triple H rids Mick Foley, and a couple more shots from Triple H. He basically hits a pedigree on Umaga, and he's destroying the competition. And now, who is at number 30, Biggie?
Oh my, could it be? It is. It's Dude Love. Oh,
He's back.
Dude Love. It's Dude Love.
No, it's not Dude Love.
No, it's sadly not Dude Love. It's John Cena.
So John Cena, he's back. And in the context of the time, this was a big deal because he was supposed to be out for 12 months. So he got injured in October, and it was pretty much reported he was going to miss WrestleMania, obviously, because of his tear. But the question was when he'd be able to come back to wrestling. And no one could believe, I think, that he managed to return in such a short amount of time, like 3 to 4 months. An absolute freak of nature. But the pop that he gets, I remember it being like this massive ovation, but it really wasn't that big, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was just a bunch of people screaming, yeah, woo.
I think, and even then, the fans were not happy to see Cena back. Like, this is one of those moments which is looked back on with rose-tinted glasses, or, what do you call it? It's a Mandela effect, isn't it? That John Cena returned, the crowd went crazy, and everyone loved it. But in reality, the crowd did not like Cena at all.
Yeah, they did not.
So, he's out at number 30. Super Cena's running wild, eliminates everyone. There's not even any point in telling you who he eliminated. It was Chavo, Carlito, Henry. Then Cena and Triple H go eye to eye, and Umaga's back up. And then Umaga gets thrown to the floor, as does Kennedy, and we're down to the final four. It's Kane, Batista, Cena, and Triple H. And Kane gets eliminated pretty quickly. So now, one of the best final threes in Royal Rumble history, I'll stand by that, is Batista, John Cena, and Triple H. And you've got the taunt off. So you've got Batista with the thumbs down, Cena with the you can't see me, and then Triple H doing the suck it, and they're all beating each other up. Love this freeway brawl between each other. Triple H and Cena team up on Batista, but Batista double clotheslines them both. Cena gets a boot up, and Batista gets thrown out by Triple H. And then we're down to 2. And they soak it in. It's a very, very intense atmosphere. And, Triple H is the clear favourite here. John Cena is not popular in New York City. But it is a fun ending segment. Eventually, they're trying to get each other out. I think Cena and Triple H have a double down with a double clothesline. And then Triple H gets him in the FU position. But Triple H grabs the top rope and then eventually gets thrown over with an FU to the outside. And Cena wins it around 50 minutes. So, this one of my favourite Royal Rumbles ever. It's probably not one of the best Royal Rumbles ever, but it's definitely one of my favourite Royal Rumbles ever. Cena wins and he's going to WrestleMania. What did you think about that match?
It was a good match. It was a good Rumble match. It was the right winner because I don't know who else would have won in 2008 unless you're building the future and you have CM Punk win. That
would be very optimistic though.
Yeah.
I think Triple H would have been the one to win it. I think Triple H was probably penciled in to win it before they knew that Cena would be able to come back, because Triple H does go on to win the championship in a couple months anyway. So I think the shock factor of Cena winning, I get. Who ends up? Oh yeah, and they do the No Way Out thing with the chambers later on in the month. So they they've got that to go back to. I really enjoyed this match. I think Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were the highlights. I really enjoyed John Morrison's stretch, and I quite liked how Cody Rhodes was in it for quite a while. So they did have a couple of people in there that you wouldn't really expect. And the amount of people that could have won it was high. Batista, Undertaker, Shawn, Triple H, and Kane as well had a good showing too. And even the mid card stuff and the comedy was funny, as well as the legends. I like the legends showing from Snuka and Piper, and yeah, I mean it wasn't the best Rumble ever, but it was definitely one of my favorite Rumbles ever. It's a very easy watch. But yeah, overall, your thoughts on this pay-per-view as a whole?
It's a good pay-per-view. I'd recommend watching it, even though there is some bad stuff in it. But the stuff that are bad, it's not that bad. You can get over it. It's not like WCW, where everything was bad. The bad stuff is not bad compared to the WCW, where we have checkouts around over and over again. I'm so glad I did not have to listen to the NWO theme over and over again.
It's been 2 weeks. Get over it. I said I'm sorry for making us watch Nitro.
I can't get over it. I've been through a war, man. I've been through a war. You don't understand.
Well, I'm biased as well, though, because this is 2008 is my era. I was a kid. I was loving it. It was still real to me, damn it, and I loved it. This show in particular, the Royal Rumble is one of my favourites ever, as I said. And aside from that, like Orton versus Hardy had a great atmosphere to it with a cracking promo package as well. And even Edge versus Rey was fun for what it was. The blade job of Jericho was iconic, and even if even the stuff that wasn't that great was passable and it was watchable at least. So yeah, not one of the best Rumbles they've ever put on, but definitely a fun, easy watch. And that is it for this episode. What's next on the agenda, Piggy?
We're doing Raw, so tune in next week for Raw.
Where John Cena is heading to WrestleMania. We've also got Randy Orton fearing for his life, and also a cheeky little reunion of some sorts. But we'll get to it next week. That's it from us. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of this episode and what you thought of the Royal Rumble 2008 in general. Be sure to subscribe, as I said before, and I'm just going to repeat myself. So, Piggy, do the outro.
Do the outro. Hit a like, hit a subscribe.
Say a cute line.
Say a cute line. Well, I'm not your puppet boy.
Say something cute to end on.
Oh, happy birthday to you, Ferg.
Yeah!